Welcome back to another episode of The Future Plays Here. I'm your host, Trey Hall, and today I am joined by two very special guests from the Glenbrook North Girls Golf Program. As you all may know, the Glenbrook North Girls Golf Program has won three consecutive state championships, and today we have joining us Martha Kuwahara, who is a senior golfer from the program, and then her head coach, Mike Schroeder. Thank you all for joining me today. I know today is a school day, and Martha, you mentioned that you were in your study hall right now, but appreciate you both from taking some time to have a conversation with me today and talk a little bit about Glenbrook North's girls golf program. I mean, coach, we were talking a little bit off camera, a little bit about how you've been a coach for about 13 years at the program, and it took you about 10 or 11 years to get that first state championship, and it seems like since you all won that first one, you haven't let up. But yeah, we're gonna get into it. But how's everybody doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
That is good. It's some things I actually want to list off before we actually dive into the conversation because, as I mentioned, Coach, you've been the coach for the program for about 13 years, and some of the things that you've told me previously is that before 2021, the program has never won a conference title, a regional or sectional, and never even qualified for a state tournament. And over the past 4 years, you've all won four conference titles, three regional championships, two sectional championships, also
Three sectional championships. Yeah.
three sectional championships. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that's my mistake. Three
That's all right.
sectional championships, and then three consecutive state championships, as I mentioned earlier. And then also in last year's state tournament, you all hold the all-time scoring record for girls golf with a score of 585, and you broke that record by 10 strokes.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's
It's
a,
a
it's
nice
a
run.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot of things happening in over these last 4 years. Let's just talk about that a little bit, Coach. What was it like coming into the program over a decade ago and just trying to build the program up? And then in the last 3 or 4 years, it seems like the program has had tremendous success. Let's just hear some thoughts about that.
Yeah. So I just finished my 13th season as head coach. And, when I first picked up, it was different. We did have some individual great players at times, but never envisioned anything like this at that point. My goal was to try to get, advance a team maybe to sectionals, which we did in 2015 for the first time, and to get a couple individuals to the state finals, which we did. And at the time, that felt like a big goal achieved to get them down there and get familiar with Hickory Point, which is where they have the state finals in Decatur. And that was just great experience for me and for the players. I think it helped me to have those years, of experience before I got the players that I had, because that was really kind of the difference, is getting this core of great players together at the right time. So that kind of helped me, lay the groundwork and understand what it was going to be like and things like that. And when we got this team, it was, you know, pedal to the metal, and we started going pretty quick, and it's because of these great players.
Absolutely. I just want to list off some great players that you've mentioned to me before over the last few years that have been a part of the run. Obviously, Martha Kuwahara, she's a, a three-time All-State player. She was an individual state championship champion from last year and this year's state runner-up. And she's also the only golfer in the program that have counted a score in all three state championship appearances. But some other players that you also mentioned to me before was Laura Hu, Alexis Myers, and Casey Moon. I know Alexis Myers is playing at the next level at the University of Illinois. And Martha, I know you're going to be playing at Michigan, but we're going to dive into that a little bit. You all may be opponents sometime in the near future when you're in college. But as you mentioned, I know you said that a lot of those players contributed to the success of that program. And what was it like just when they came into the building? Did you know from the start that they were going to be the reason why the program, takes a leap, or what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. So Alexis and Casey are a year ahead of Martha. They graduated last year, and I had been hearing about them. I work pretty closely, have a good relationship with the guys in the Northbrook Park District. So they'd been telling me for a while, hey, coach, you got a group of players coming in, this and that. And so when I first met Alexis and Casey at tryouts and I saw what they could do, I knew it was going to be a great run with them. And their freshman year, we had a good season. That was the year we first made it downstate as a team. And we took eighth that year, and that was great for for me as a coach and just kind of for them too to get that experience. It was really great. And, we were out there and they're like, Coach, wait till you meet Martha, And so that year when we were in season, I met Martha at the driving range at Heritage Oaks. And she's an eighth grader. And I look over and she was just launching rockets with her driver, just straight and, incredible. And I was like, yeah, we're going to have some fun. And so Martha and Laura were eighth graders then, and they came in and that was a really solid core for us. And so from that point on, I knew kind of had an idea of what it would take to make it to state and to compete for a state title. And clearly with these girls' talent, it was remarkable. And they came in as already great players. It's not like I taught Martha nothing about golf, like we talk and I support her, but these players came in great players already. So, my goal was to, focus on the things that I could control, make sure I was doing the best I could in my role and to support them every way I possibly could. And it was with that core that we knew we were going to have some fun and make a run, and we maxed it out.
I can see. Martha, I want to bring it to you. Let's just take it back to freshman year, right? When you joined the golf program and
Mhm.
joining the varsity program and immediately competing at such a high level, as your coach mentioned. What was that like just coming in as a freshman?
Well, I've heard from upperclassmen how hard it is to be on varsity as a freshman in any sport. So when I was put on varsity as a freshman, that itself was like already an accomplishment to me. And to play with these other varsity players were like a great experience for me from freshman year.
I bet. Was you nervous? Was it anything that coming in you're like, because you like you said, you heard that it was hard to play varsity as a freshman in any sport. Was there any nerves there when people were telling you that? Or were you just like, I know who I am, I know that I can do this?
I was definitely nervous, especially because even though Casey and Alexis did tell me that like Coach Schroeder already knew about me and like my scores and everything, there was a part of me that still felt like if I played bad at tryouts, there was a possibility that like I wouldn't be able to play or something.
Mhm.
So definitely I was very nervous throughout tryouts.
That makes sense
She
though,
made the
but
team.
yeah, I can see, and has had tremendous success in the program. One thing that your coach actually mentioned to me off camera is that your freshman year, you won the drive, chip, and putt contest at Augusta National as a freshman, and that was like a once in a lifetime experience. Can you just talk about what that moment felt like winning that as a freshman?
I mean, that was my second year making it down there. And
Oh
it's
wow!
just, it felt really it felt unbelievable that I was hitting next to, like, tour players. I was hitting on the range where, like, Tiger Woods have hit in the past.
Oh
And
wow!
and to step foot on, like, the 18th green and to be able to, like, even putt twice on, like, that green was just a really good experience for me.
I bet it was like you said, Tiger. It was you said it was like a range that Tiger Woods has put it on.
Every tour player has hit on that range.
My
It's like a
goodness.
warm-up station that, like, tour players hit on, and I was able to hit 3 drives over there.
Wow, and this is your second time competing. So the first time, was it when you were in 8th grade?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, wow. What where did you place or finish in 8th grade?
Ooh, I think I placed tied for 7th or something.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
so that was a big jump, but yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, coach believed in you early on and obviously competing in something like that at a very early age, I mean, that's already a tremendous sign of what type of player you're gonna be for the program for the years to come, right? Coach, I wanna just bring it back to you. I mean, you mentioned that you saw her at a driving range early, right? And obviously you had high expectations for her coming into the Glenbrook North program. But what stood out to you when she became a part of the program and started competing as a freshman? What stood out to you immediately?
A lot of things. Her game is just phenomenal, and so it was great to have her there with, Martha and Laura combined with Alexis and Casey. We just had a ton of firepower. So Martha stepped right in, obviously as an elite player, but also, one thing about Martha is like she is just a great teammate. Very enthusiastic, hard worker, great example. And I think handling that pressure of being a freshman coming into this where her freshman year, we were talking about we can compete for a state title, and so it was kind of like we were all getting to know each other. Me as a coach, I wanted to, it takes some time to kind of like earn the players' trust and build a rapport and kind of get that culture going. And, we were having fun right off the bat, coming out and competing with teams. I think Martha's freshman year, I knew she was coming. So I had worked on our schedule to make our schedule as competitive as possible, playing, seeking out the best teams we could find in the state. That was what we were after. And that was what these girls wanted. All of them, they were getting after everyone. And that their desire to compete, I think really helped fuel it. And so that was a big thing. And seeing them kind of come together and compete in that. Martha's freshman year, we got third in state. Hinsdale Central won. They had
Wow.
a phenomenal team. But it was such a good experience for us to go through that whole process. And it was my second year with the team down there. But like with Martha, she was all state as a freshman right off the bat. So, Martha, your season, your schedule year round is just incredibly competitive. So you have that experience of playing in those tournaments. So I think there are some nerves when you're playing for a team. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest things is it's such an individual sport. So getting the newer players to buy into the concept of a team and be part of it is a little different because golf, you just don't have that coming up. And to me, that was one of the things that I wanted. I wanted to give these girls a great experience and to be part of a team and see how that goes. And I think it's helped to prepare them for Martha and Alexis playing at the next level too. So it's just been a phenomenal ride.
Absolutely. Martha, that early success of being an all-state golfer your freshman year, did that add any pressure for you or did that just help build your confidence?
I think it put a lot of pressure on me because once you place like all state, I feel like there's an expectation that you are going to place like all state for the rest of your high school career. And I think that pressure got to me sophomore year, but it does put a lot more pressure on me.
So how did you bypass that pressure? You mentioned that it's an expectation of being an all-state player all of the years in high school when you have it as a freshman year, getting it as a freshman. What allowed you to kind of get through a lot of that pressure?
I think what helped me the most was, like coach said, freshman year and sophomore year, I was kind of more used to individual play. I was playing
Mhm.
for myself and I kind of wanted the like best score for myself. But as the years progressed and I got more used to team playing and being old, like one of the older ones on the team, I started playing more for the team, I would say. I felt like the pressure was kind of off my shoulders because even if I didn't play well, another girl could play well and she could cover up for me. So, and then I just started playing well overall after that pressure was off my shoulders.
Interesting. So I actually want to ask another question then because now that
Mhm.
I'm thinking about it, you went from being the one of the youngest girls on the team, right? Coming in as a
Mhm.
freshman to playing on varsity all 4 years and now becoming one of the not only older people on the program on the team, but also one of the leaders of the team. What was that transition like? Obviously when you're a freshman, you have leaders on the team. There's girls on the team that you probably learn a lot of your game from or they help with your development and they were your leaders. And then you became that leader that you once looked up to. What was that like?
It was a very interesting transition since I was so used to looking up to someone, having taken care of like being used to not having to make plans, like try to get the team together. It felt like there was a lot of things to mark off the checkbox because junior, senior year, it was like my turn to do that. And I felt a lot of pressure since I wasn't sure if I was doing it right or not.
You were doing it
Okay.
great.
And I was just about to ask you, Coach, what did you think of her development? I mean, like I said, she was one of the younger girls on the team to being one of the leaders on the team her senior year. What was that like watching her develop from freshman all the way up to her senior year?
Yeah, it was really cool. And, so Martha was young, but the other kind of core players were only a year ahead of her too. So it was a very young group in general. We did have some more experienced players who I think did help give the girls great experience, the big sisters. And they were great. And so watching kind of Martha develop, and I think one thing, Martha's your junior year, Martha, when, you were one of the captains that year too, I remember saying like, everybody already sees you as a leader of this team. So you might not have kind of realized it, but I think you were already making steps towards that leadership role early on, just by doing little things like supporting your teammates, set an example, in practice and how to compete and with your mindset. And so, it might have been a more formal role, but I think you kind of had already been working towards that leadership role. And by the time you were a senior like that, we really needed you. This year was it's big time for us to have a chance, and you stepped into that role, and it was great. It was just a phenomenal season, and it was so great to see you continue to develop already as, continue to be a better player. But as far as being a leader and a teammate, it just went to another level your senior year.
Let's actually talk about this season just a little bit, because I know we've already been going for about 16 minutes. But Coach, me and you had a conversation off camera about how obviously you all won 3 consecutive state champions as a team, right? State championships as a team. But what we were talking about, you all almost didn't make it to state.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about that. What was that like? I think it was the sectional that you were telling me about where
Right.
you all almost didn't make the cut. So let's just talk about that a little bit. What was that like? Obviously there's a lot of pressure with being back-to-back state champions, right? There's a lot of pressure with winning one state championship and then becoming back-to-back state championship. That pressure's probably doubled by then. And then coming back to try to win a third one. What was that like?
Well, it was incredibly exciting. So I always kind of try to frame things to the players as whatever happens, let's try to take a mindset that's too advantageous to us. And so earlier years, it was kind of like, we got a chip on our shoulder. We want to prove this to everyone. We want to win. After we won the second one back to back and set the record, we lost our great seniors. And so a lot of people kind of thought that, all right, GBN's probably, their run might be fading. We would still be a good team, but I don't think, and people didn't realize, I think, the depth that we would have and some, combination of, Martha and Laura coming back and then some younger players, Lauren and Lindsay, and what they could do. I knew. And so I believed in them. And my message to them all season was, we can do it. We're capable of doing it. The thing that I was looking at all season, though, was our sectional was going to be really tough. We knew from the start we were going to see Stevenson's a phenomenal team. A lot of depth, great players, great experience, really hungry to win too. So we knew they were going to be formidable, and probably most people were looking at them as the favorites all season, which again, we took as kind of our perception to be an advantage to us, that maybe we're underdogs and that's a good role for us to be in. And so at the sectionals was at Winnetka Golf Course, really tough golf course. We planned for it really well. And I would say, 6 of the top teams in state were there and only 3 could advance. So it was after we played really well in the regional, but at that sectional, like I said, tough course. It was, Stevenson had a lot of depth. So if someone didn't play well, there were other players that were going to step in. We expected them to have a good day, and they did. They played great. It's also New Trier's home course, and New Trier had beaten us previously in the season there in a regular season matchup. We knew they were going to play well. And then you had 3 other great teams, Fremd, Lake Park, and Barrington, and they were all really tough teams. They would have all finished top 8 in the state, I think, with the scores they were putting up all season. So all year I said, guys, we can do it. Well, we have to focus one day at a time. We have to get through this sectional. And so the morning of the sectional, we planned it. We played practice rounds. We were really ready for it, had a good game plan. But, it started off rough. Like one of our players, Lindsay, showed up. She was feeling really sick. Terrible. When you're not feeling that way, that's hard to compete at that level. And kind of out of the gate, everything was going wrong for us. We fell behind. We weren't scoring the way we wanted to. Seemed like every bad break that we could catch, we did. But the players were really ready for it. We always talk about, it doesn't matter what happens, that scoreboard's going to be up and down. It doesn't matter if we're 10 strokes back or 10 strokes up. Every single shot, one at a time, focus on that, pick each other up. And that's what it was. But it was an adrenaline rush, because I think after 14 holes, we were still 7 shots out of third place. And we needed to be third place to qualify. And so, some of the girls were kind of like wanting to press and maybe hit driver where we had planned for them to lay up off the tee. And I was like, you guys just stick with it. You can do it. And sure enough, things started happening. We started fighting back. I think Lindsay Huang made an eagle on the 15th hole and kind of gave us a shot. And then, Martha was Martha. Laura played great. Lauren John got on track, and, we kind of held steady, and we finished, I think Barrington was already in the clubhouse with a really good score, and we need to play our last 5 holes we could only have a couple bogeys. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I think we played as a team with our 4 counting scores. We needed to be 2 over, and I think we fit it, or 3 over, and we finished 1 under. And that is just kind of the thing that I was always talking about him, is like, guys, we can draw on this experience from, playing under pressure, because it is very different. If you haven't played competitive golf, a 7-iron in your hand with, a sectional and a trip to the state finals online is very different than it is at the range or out with your friends on the weekend. And so it was, I think, that experience of, you've done this before, and don't see this as like, oh my gosh, I hope I don't screw up. See it as a chance to do something great. And I framed it as kind of like, we're the underdogs here. We've already got 2 under our belts. We've got nothing to lose. Let's give it everything we have. And so they just played awesome when it mattered most. And I think that's kind of like the trademark of this team was, playing our best golf in the most clutch moments. And it was incredible, and I try to make sure I come across them as very stable and confident, but that was kind of a wreck. Coach Cooper and I were in the cart, and, we were sweating it, but we knew we could do it. And it was just remarkable the way they did it. And it was the leadership from the seniors, and everyone chipped in. And it was, once we did that, once we qualified, I mean, we got third. I felt like we won state. We got to the huddle, and it was like, all right, now let's go to Decatur. Let's win. And so it was an incredible feeling to come back like that.
Martha, what was that like? How did that feel? Just because, I mean, coach just said it from his perspective. He was talking confident to you guys, but him and the other coach were sweating. They were, they were a little nervous. What was it like for you as a player actually having to play?
For me, I'm the type of person who doesn't check the leaderboard.
Mm.
So I really did not know what was happening. And, like, the last 3 holes, I could see, like, a little bit of tension between the coaches and the players that were actually looking at the leaderboard, and I could tell that, like, we were pretty close. And I remember on hole 18, Coach Coop and Coach Schroeder were in their carts, and I was asking them, like, "Where are we right now? Like, what do I have to do on this last hole?" And they didn't tell me anything. Coach Schroeder just said, "Just play your game," and that's what I did.
Absolutely. And look, we're here now, and you all made it to the state tournament, ended up winning your third consecutive state championship. So that just what does that say to you, coach, about the players being able to rely on them in the toughest moments of the game?
Just incredible. It's one of those things where, you have different players out there. Like, Martha's not really checking the leaderboard. I have other players who are, watching it all the time. And to me, I gave up on telling them what to do with that. Some players are going to check it, some aren't. And I just, we just talked a lot about the mindset to have, and that it doesn't matter. We're never out of it, and it's never closed out. And so, it was just a constant fight. And I knew the girls were never going to give up. They were going to stick with it. And I think, one thing, I know we're kind of wrapping up here, but after the first day at the state finals, we had a 2-shot lead on Stevenson. We played well that day. And the second day they came back, Stevenson played great, and so did we. And I think, Martha was Martha. And that was what, we said all season. We need Martha to be Martha. Laura do this. All, we had plans in it. One thing that was a really pleasant surprise was our sophomore, Lauren John. She played really well the first day. We knew what she was capable. The back 9 at Hickory Point. So at this point, we're 1 shot back of Stevenson with 9 holes to go. And it's the toughest stretch of holes on the course. And Lauren played those 9 holes 5 under par. She was dropping putts from everywhere. And so that really helped kind of give us a shot in the arm. And even with that, it was really close. I think going into the 8th, I think there was maybe a shot or 2 separating us and Stevenson, and they only played it. They played well, 1 or 2 over par for that last hole, and we played that last hole 1 under. And just sitting there with each player on the 18th fairway, watching them hit those shots, it's very difficult to describe what that pressure feels like. I'm not the one hitting the shots, but even just being there, the atmosphere they're full of adrenaline, their heart's racing. I think that was one of the first times I ever saw Martha nervous on the golf course, because there's a lot of waiting. It's not like a basketball game where, okay, the ball's in play and you're just reacting. You have to have a really strong mindset to keep yourself together and focused, waiting for shots, waiting for the green to clear. In that 18th hole, Martha had laid up because there's a creek in front of it, a narrow gap through the approach. So she had laid up, she had a long approach because that out of a tough lie in the rough. And she had a long shot, and, she was like, I'm actually like, kind of nervous here. I'm like, just, you got it. If there's anyone I would want to hit that shot, it's Martha. but it was just kind of everyone doing that, coming through when it mattered in the most. And that was really the story of our season. And from my standpoint, it was just remarkable. I can't even describe the feeling of it. I wish there was a way, I know it's not, but if people could watch it, like you could see like a Ryder Cup or a Solheim Cup, I mean, it would have been some of the most exciting viewing ever. It's just incredible. So for me, unbelievable. It feels surreal. And it was just something I'll never forget.
And I'm sure that's something that Martha will never forget, and a lot of the girls that's on the team as well. Martha, I want to ask, last year you were an individual state champion. This year you were a team runner up. What are your remarks of just your senior season as a whole? I mean, obviously fell a little bit short as an individual state champion, but still team state champion, 3-time state champion at that. So I would still say great. You had a great success as a golfer at Glenbrook North. What is your overall thoughts about this senior season?
I think this senior season, I kind of got to feel that winning as a team feels much better than winning as an individual.
Absolutely.
Because when you win as a team, you get to celebrate with everybody, including teammates' families, like coaches, even teachers at Glenbrook North. But then even if you win individually, it is like you are happy, but it's not the same feeling because we all went to like dinner afterwards together. We were holding trophies together. Like it's just a different feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, I seen some of the pictures that coach shared with me from I want to say it was the state championship from last year, and you all
Mhm.
looked super happy when you all got back with the trophy and everything. I think I saw the bus was like decorated and everything too. But yeah, if I haven't said it already on this platform, congrats to you both. I mean, coach, obviously you still have a program to run when Martha's long and gone at college, but what excites you the most for the future to come? I mean, you mentioned some younger players that excites you just the same way that when Martha was a younger player excited you for the program. What are you looking forward to for the years to come for Glenbrook North's golf program?
Yeah, I mean, I think, these girls changed the culture of the program. And, that was something that we saw with this core group of players come in. I think it helped the other players who contributed, to kind of see what it takes to be truly elite, the year-round dedication that these players have to their games, to their golf swing, to their course management, to their mental game, which is such a huge part of it, and what it takes to be elite. And so I think for some of the other players to be around them, it for sure impacted them and their habits, and that kind of culture kept going. But I'm also realistic. There's never going to be, these girls are very unique. It's not something that happens very often. So we want to continue, but I'm also just really still enjoying this. And again, like what Martha said about the individual versus team, I would say I've seen a lot of examples of what she's talking about. At the 15th hole at Hickory Point, it's a really tough par five. It's a 3-shot par five for everyone except for maybe a couple players ever. And Martha is one of the few players who could maybe take a driver on that hole and get home in two, which is a really risky play, but it could pay off for, an eagle putt, maybe a 2-putt birdie for Martha. And so I was waiting for her to take driver the second day, and I'm watching from my spot and I see she's pulling out, she's going to lay up. I'm like, okay, and I'm like, what's up? And she's like, well, I just, I thought I could maybe do it if she was chasing, the individual title. She's like, but I think it's better for the team to lay up. And that's just a great example of Martha's mindset and how she wanted the team to win together. She wanted everyone to share. She could have played really aggressive and tried to make birdies, which she is capable of, but she wanted that team championship. And, that's something that, I really appreciate her putting the team first. And it's just, it's Martha.
And those are great leadership traits to have, especially going to the next level into college. Martha, I want to ask, what excites you the most about heading to the University of Michigan?
I mean, everything to keep it broad. I am excited for the academics. I'm excited for the coaching there. I'm excited for the facilities. I'm excited to meet new people, live in a new environment. I'm just excited for everything.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Alexis Myers is at the University of Illinois, and
Mhm.
you all are both in the same conference. What's that going to be like playing somebody who was once your teammate? Now you all are somewhat conference rivals now.
It's gonna feel really weird since I played on the same team with her for 3 years, but it's gonna be really fun being able to see her even though we go to different colleges, it's not like every day you can see friends from different colleges. So that'll be really fun to compete against her.
So one thing I want to ask before I move, I promise you this interview is about to wrap up very soon. I know we're at 30 minutes. What, I'm sorry, this question is for you, Martha. What are some things that you're going to miss the most about the Glenbrook North Girls Golf Program?
The thing I'm gonna miss most, probably the community. We're a very tight-knit community, I would say. We hang out outside of practices, we eat dinner together, we hang out on weekends sometimes, we have brunch sometimes together. And the coaches, I see them, they're like in the hallways, and I always talk to them. I sometimes visit them in their office, and it's just something that I can only that I can only experience here. So yeah, I'm gonna miss that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, time in high school, it probably flew by fast, right? And when you get to college, it's gonna fly by even quicker. So, once again, congrats to you both. Successful program, successful 3 consecutive state championships, as I mentioned throughout the podcast. I just want to ask a last few questions. I have some rapid fire questions that I think that I have for the both of you. Actually, first question that I have, and both of you could answer it, or Martha, if you want to answer it first. What is the favorite course? What is your most favorite course you played on?
Conway Farms. I would say Conway Farms.
Absolutely. What about you, Coach? What was the favorite course for the team? What do you feel like the
Conway
team had the
Farms.
most?
Yeah.
Really?
Conway Farms in Lake Forest. That tournament's awesome. That course. They host PGA tournaments, so that one's really cool. They host the BMW, so Martha won it.
Of course she did, Martha. What did you keep saying this whole episode? If Martha could just be Martha, then we're going to be in good
That's
shape.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what is Coach? This question is for you. What is one word to describe Martha as a competitor?
Tough. I mean, I could come up with a million
I like
words,
that.
but she never gets rattled, and I think that's what, one of the things that separates her.
Yeah, I can see. Martha, what is one word you can use to describe your coach?
Enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic. I like that. I like that. So I have one more question. What is one moment that you all would never forget from all 4 years of just being in the program together?
Hmm, that's a good
I'll
that's a
say it. I'll
very
give
good
you a second to
question.
think about it. I think for me, it's a lot of things. The win and everything is amazing, but I think I like seeing the girls have a great experience. I like seeing them at practice when we're playing practice rounds and they're listening to music and joking around and just kind of like, being a team. It's a really great thing. It's something that an experience that I would want for my daughters when they're in high school. So those kind of moments, I think, and the 3 bus rides home from winning the state titles with the girls, like celebrated. I'm driving just like on top of the world. It feels great. We got police escorts. So I think watching them celebrate it together, like it's hard to describe that experience. So, all those things.
What about you, Martha?
I would have to agree because after winning and eating with the team and talking about all the hardships we had on the course, things that we can relate about, talking about what we're gonna do when we go back to school and how we're gonna celebrate, like, I think that's the most fun like, that's the best memories I have.
I bet. Playing a sport, these are going to be memories that last a lifetime. So once again, I'm going to say congrats to the both of you. Appreciate you both for joining the platform to share the journey of the program. It's been an incredible story to hear, to be honest, and very entertaining, I will say the least, as well. But thank you all for joining the Future Plays here. Coach, I know we're going to be seeing a lot of the Glenbrook North girls golf program in the near future. So can't wait to be keeping up with the program for many times to come. But this is the Future Plays here, episode 2, featuring Martha Kuwahara and Mike Schroeder of the Glenbrook North girls golf program. And we are out.